Monday Parshas Nitzovim, or Lechov Gimel El Tavshin Pei Aleph. As we approach Rosh Hashona, so the mind has a flashback of the past year, the past 2 years, which weren't simple at all. And we know that Rosh Hashona, there's a decision about the coming year, Tavshin Pei Beis. And it's scary, because as long as we were in Tavshin Pei and there was only the Corona, that was the whole issue. It was scary as it is. But it felt like it's one problem, one very big issue for the world, and Hashem helped, there'll be vaccines and it'll finish. And Baruch Hashem, we were Zoicha, we did daven in Rosh Hashona Tavshin Pei Aleph, and they did come up with a good vaccine. A lot of people were saved, and a lot of people were able to go back to some kind of routine because of the matana that Hashem gave us. But on the other hand, it was a very scary year. The tragedies, Miron, and things that don't happen and didn't happen, and since the war, things that was very clear that Hashem is talking to Klal Yisrael with a very clear message that we have to shape up. So sometimes it gets blurry in the mind, like what's going to be the coming year and what can we do to help it. And we davened so hard the past Rosh Hashona, and still it was a hard year. And what can we do to make the year a better year? We know we need to do tshuva. Everybody knows we need to do tshuva. But we do see in Chazal that the month of Elul and the month of Tishrei is set up that we should be doing much more davening. We should be davening more. We daven by davening itself. We add parts to the davening, the Doved Hashem Viyishi and Tilim, and then we add that we have Slichas. Now it's already the time of Slichas, and then we have Rosh Hashona, Naser Simei Tshuva, and Yom Kippur. So we see that davening is a very, very big part of the tshuva, of helping the year be a better year. Now, as kids, we were told that Hashem listens to our tefillas, which is true, of course. And if we daven and we beg, we daven hard, Hashem listens. Hashem's going to give us a good year. But as a person grows older, it's so important that we should understand the concept of tefillah deeper. It can't be that a person grew physically and mentally and emotionally and understands everything in the world so much better and deeper, and tefillah should still be in their mind with the concept that they were taught when they were in first grade. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's not true. Everything that we were taught in first grade is as is. We daven and Hashem listens, and Hashem wants to help us, and we cry out to Hashem. But why should we stay stuck with that poor understanding, shallow understanding, that that's all it is? And why is it so important? Because if we understand it deeper, then we could actually practice it and do it better. And then, the more we believe in the power of tefillah, the more a person understands what they could do by tefillah, what it involves, then the power of tefillah just doubles and triples. It becomes so much more powerful, and Eibusha helps. It should be a good year for everybody. So let's try to go through the idea of tefillah and how we see that tefillah helps a person not only to be able to get what they want, and they get it from Hashem. Hashem, please give me a good year. Please, I should be healthy and happy, and my family should have a healthy, happy, and I should have nachas and parnosa. And they cry to Hashem, and Hashem listens. Hashem says, okay, no problem. And checks out, you were good? Okay, you were pretty good. You got an 85, but you know what? We'll give you a good year. It has to be deeper than that. The Zohar HaKadosh, Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar HaKadosh, says that when a person davens, the davening has every davening has the potential to perfect the person, make the person a perfect person. Now, if a person is just standing there asking, begging Hashem that they need this and they need that, even if they elaborate in Tefillah and they say, I don't know if I'm really worthy that I should be getting this, but still, how does it make a person be a different person? The Zohar HaKadosh says that clearly. Every Tefillah has a koyach that it should totally transform the person, make the person a new person. How does that happen by Tefillah? So, let's learn the steps that go through the person's mind and heart in the overall concept of Tefillah. Not with a specific request that a person asks from Hashem, just the overall concept. What are you doing? Where are you going when you're davening? So, the number one thing that happens when a person davens is that a person understands that they cannot help themselves any other way, and that's why they came here. That's the number one understanding a person is supposed to understand, and the deeper they understand that, the more they're really davening. If you find a person that drove down 3 hours to a government office out of town, there's usually no one there. It's this office, that little room there you could find in the big city. Everybody usually goes to the big office. You found a person, and you know he doesn't live here. And you ask him, why did you come down here? Why couldn't you just take care of it next to your house, the next block? You have an office that you could have given you papers. He looks at him, he says, you think I didn't try? Of course I tried. It didn't help. What do you mean it didn't help? He says, you want to bring up the whole pain out? I tried 5 times. It didn't help. I went back and I came back. Someone told me there's this little office there with there's no line, nothing going on. It paid to me to drive down there. And this is where you really take care of things. There are hundreds of such examples in a person's life where you find a person doing something out of the ordinary. And you're like wondering, why do you need to go that far? I mean, you have to do the craziest thing. You could have just done it simple. And the answer is that he tried the simple way. That's why he's there. He paid for the most expensive contractor. The reason is because he tried going with the contractor that does it for cheap. Yeah. His white beard is thanks to that. And right now, he decided, I don't care what. Sometimes you could hear on the phone, the guy says, I want to have the best. I don't care, the best. So the guy on the other side of the phone says, what happened? Why are you getting so wild? There's an history. I tried and failed and tried and failed, and I decided I don't care what. This is where I'm going, and I don't want any bargains, and I don't want anybody to help me. I want to go to the best of the best. When a person tries to daven, that's the idea. Because if they're coming to daven and they're saying, Hashem, you have time, because if not, I got a good friend, happens to be. He has a lot of money, he could really take care of it, but I figured I'll try here first. If that's the idea, then you're not being soymech on Hashem, you're not relying. Tefillah, you're connecting. How do we connect to Hashem? By relying. And when you rely, it means totally relying. And that causes the reaction, the shefa, to come to the person, because it's a click that the neshama clicks like. We're using it as in, for lack of a better term, because we're talking about ruchni, that's what makes a chibur, a connection between the neshama and its source and Hashem, and that's when a person could reach shefa, when they're totally relying. But again, the number one to that is that a person knows that nothing else could help. Now, a person has to feel totally lost. Totally lost. That means really feeling. That's why sometimes it pays for a person to try the wrong things, because if not, they're never really going to rely, because they never failed, they never tried. They think, there's other ways as well. A person's approach when a person comes to davening is like he's had it, he tried everything else. Menashe Melech Yisrael, the Gemara says, he was such a big Baal Aveda. He did everything. All Averis, and not only he did just, he was Choyti Umachti, he was a king, and he had all corporate. It means he had all business of making everybody else do Averis, the worst Averis, and Avodah Zorah, and he reached out to every single Avodah Zorah. He tried every other way. 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, until he reached that he cried out to Hashem. And Hashem listened to his tefillah and helped him. Hashem listened to his tefillah and helped him, and the Pasuk brings the whole story, and the Gemara brings it because it's teaching us that even if a person is down in the dumps, as low as it's possible, but if you're going to reach out, then Hashem is listening to your tefillah. Sometimes a person asks, but I'm not that bad like Menashe Melech Yisrael. Why my tefillah is not being listened to, and his was? I'm not that bad. I know for sure I didn't do all the wrong things that he did. So he knew how to daven, I don't. One of the answers is that the Pasuk says, because he tried everything else. Now, I'm not trying to convince people to try everything else. It's just a deep understanding. If you did try, then fill it in. Remind yourself that it doesn't work to just call the other person 5 times a day. No, did you take care of it? Did you take it? No. Or how many times do I have to call you? These things don't work. They don't have a long, they don't last long term. It's all fake. It doesn't work. And a person has to know before what does work. A person has to figure out very, very strong what doesn't work. Then we could talk about what does work. But don't mix the two and don't make them like it's. Don't skip any steps in tefillah. Now, I want to stop for a second. Chazal say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'avel letfilasan shel tzaddikim. Hashem craves, wants so badly that tzaddikim should be mispalel. What's the point? What's the idea? The tzaddik is going to daven, and then what? Then I'm going to give him. Rivka didn't have children. Rivka Yemeni didn't have children, and then she davened. We gave a child. The Svarim explain that the tefillah has the ability to bring the person, to elevate the person to become a new person. Not only that when they daven they feel so uplifted, and it was really a good feeling, and they were successful. They were crying by davening. They really enjoyed the davening. That's not the point. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'avel letfilasan shel tzaddikim. The Sforim explain Hashem wants the person to slowly become a better person, and davening is an amazing tool. An amazing tool how to change the person, totally change the person, slowly, till the person is a new person. That is why Hashem wants us to daven and El and Tishrei. And these steps that we're talking about, what happens by Tefillah, is so important that every single step we should learn it, internalize, and again, think about it again every time we go to davening, because that's when it has the power to change the person. If a person stays with the childish understanding in Tefillah, then if they really add it up one on one, they're going to see it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. Because Hashem knows what I'm missing, even what I don't know myself that I'm missing. Davening for this and for that, and Hashem knows he needs to daven very hard for that daughter of his. He doesn't even know. He doesn't dream. Because that daughter is doing fine right now, but is now a whole year ahead of us. So what's the point? We're davening with our minds that was so limited, and we don't even know what to daven. Hashem knows the whole picture. Number 2, Hashem knows how to fix it. And knows how to fix it in all ways that we can't even think of fixing it. Hashem knows how to fix it. And the Chayvus Avavos explains that Hashem not only knows how to fix it, Hashem has the ability to fix it. There's nothing in the world, of course, that could be in the way. It's as easy as nothing for Hashem to fix it. It doesn't take anything. And even more than all that, Hashem wants our good and loves us much more than we love ourselves, and has more rachmanis and cares for us much more than we care for ourselves, and how much we care for our loved ones. So what's the point of going through all this and begging and crying and trying? It's Hashem knows everything. That's why it's so important to learn this. It transforms you. You could work on yourself. And slowly you're going to be seeing the davening change you as a new person. And we see people that change themselves. We find people and we see they're not the same type of person. They don't get so upset anymore. They don't get so irritated when things, we just experienced the last 3 years with these people. They were very tough people. We were scared every time we said something. How are they going to react? And we knew they're not simple. And all of a sudden, they're soft. And all of a sudden, you could talk to them, and they just, you don't have to be so scared how they're going to react. There's so many people that change. Davening has the power to transform a person. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ava l'tfilosa, not only from tzaddikim. Hashem is waiting for the tefillah of a person, because Hashem wants their shleimus, wants their perfection, wants to see them with their potential, how they could really be.
It says,
which means
she was a different person.
It says Chana didn't have children, so that pushed her to daven, and the pasuk says that she wasn't the same person anymore. That was it. Now, that's why Hashem brings situations to the world that pushes people, forces people that they have to daven. And here's the mistake: the people when they're desperate and they're going through a hardship or who knows what, it's a bit more than a hardship, then a lot of times they lose their peace of mind and they become so desperate that their davening is done in the wrong way. They're pushing, they're under pressure, they're a little bit upset or a lot upset, and they're just like, they're davening because they need to daven, and they're missing the point, because the idea of the Torah was only because they should be able to just dive into this world, this unbelievable world of davening, and they should slowly become a new person. Not that the problem should be fixed. The problem could have been fixed beforehand. The idea was that they should daven, and the davening should make them a new person. I'm just saying it Baal Peh, from the outside, but the Oyev Yisrael, from the Apterov, he brings in Parshas Toldos, says some of the words that he says. He says, Kisheroyin chas v'sholem, when Klal Yisrael sees that there are gzeiros rois, it means that the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, is gzeiros rois, al yisyashu malis ametz. Don't give up from trying hard to daven. Because of course they have the power through their tefillah to be able to be mevatel all the gzeiros that it shouldn't happen, and Hashem will help them. And the reason, and he continues on, the reason why Hashem brought these gzeiros to begin with was not that we should chas v'shalom have to go through this, just that we should daven, and the davening should change us. And then that was the point. The point was what happened to the person through their davening. I'll say something maybe more painful, but it's so important to learn. Sometimes a person went through tragedy, and afterwards they absorbed it in the right way, and they found a rov, or they took themselves a new mahalach and avodas Hashem because of what happened. They're not the same person anymore, and then people see, wow, unbelievable. That person, the Yisurim, the pain, the tragedy made him be a new person. He's a new person. And then they say, you see, everything Hashem does is for good. He's now a better person. Which is, in a lot of cases, true. It's true. Especially, sometimes a person didn't have the opportunity to daven. Hashem didn't let the person daven. By the time the person found out, it was too late. There was no opportunity to daven. That's one of the big cheshbonos. Hashem decides before something happens, if they will know or they won't know. But so many times, a person gets a reminder that something's coming up, something might happen, and they have the opportunity to daven, but they don't know how to daven because they're lost, and they didn't train themselves what's supposed to happen in the person's mind while they're davening. And so they daven, but then they don't daven. And even when they do daven, it's just because that's when they're saying the Tehillim, they have zero feeling because they're so stuck. And they don't know what to do about it, because what should they do? They are stuck. They don't mean bad in any way, chas v'sholem. Just their heart is so stoned, and they don't know what to do, or because of the situation, they don't feel they could daven, they should daven, and they go, and then it just doesn't happen. And then, sometimes, again, we don't know cheshbon shamayim. We're just It's important to learn the Torah and learn the idea of it. Sometimes the tragedy happens, and then they have no option, and they're forced to go through because they have to go to a therapist, because now they're like totally a mess. And then they go to a therapist and they slowly help themselves, and they learn what Torah says about it, and they do therapy through Torah, and then they become new people. Some of the times, again, I'm just repeating it so no one should have a mistake. I'm not saying we can figure out every single time, this is why it happened, that's why it happened. But so healthy a person should know, some of the time, you should know, if you would learn all that, how to transform yourself by davening, then what's going to happen is that you could save yourself, that you shouldn't have to go through that tragedy, because you could become that better person and make that whole transformation, the whole thing, through davening. Be aware, that's what the Zohar Kodesh says. Mashlim, a person is mashlim themselves through Tefila. The Baal Shem Tov says, in the capital that we say, the Hasidim say before, the Mincha from Friday afternoon, Hoidu, it's capital Kuv Zayin, Hoidu Hashem Kitoi Kol Yodam Chazdai. So that capital in Tehillim, the chapter in Tehillim says the situations that people went through and they cried out to Hashem. Sick people, Vayizakav Hashem Batzar Lehem, when they were desperate, they cried out to Hashem and Hashem helped them. People that were on a ship, on a boat, and it was
capsizing. Yeah.
Capsizing,
yeah.
Capsizing, okay. And they were in danger, and they cried out to Hashem, and Hashem helped them. In jail, people that were in jail, that's what the concept. And they cried, and Hashem helped them. And what's the last pasuk of that chapter in Tehillim? That they see Hashem does chesed, mi chochom v'yishmor eile v'yizboirenu chazdei Hashem. Whoever is smart, v'yishmor. Yishmor in Lashon Kodesh could be watching out, but shomer. But v'oviv shomer esadover. Remember. Yeah. By v'oviv shomer esadover, it's preventing. That's what the Baal Shem Tov explains. That we see in Lashon Kodesh that the explanation of that word could be, if you want to prevent that these things shouldn't happen to begin with, so concentrate and learn the ways Hashem runs this world before that happens. So Hashem shouldn't have to bring you into such situations that should cause you to change. Davening could make that happen to a person. Yes.
Let's say, imagine Chas v'Shalom, person has a physical illness, terrible pain, and he wants to daven, but he's too shach, he's too weak to daven. Also a tzara that isn't a physical weakness, but it can make you so weak that at that point from the tzara you can't concentrate, you can't think. Your davening doesn't come out good because of the tzara that you're in.
Yes, a lot of times the situation weighs down the person so heavy that it's impossible, that the person feels like it's impossible to daven. And you're telling me to daven, but I don't feel that I'm capable of davening. It's like if someone that doesn't understand that, we could tell them, okay, let's try this. You're up a whole night, but nothing. Be up a whole night. Okay, now daven shachris, and it's so beautiful, and the blue sky, and the birds. And why aren't you concentrating? Why aren't you just enjoying every word? Because I don't know, I can't. My eyes are closing, my mind is, when a person is so tired, it's like being drunk. And a drunk person is part from davening, they can't daven. That's what the doctors say, it's like being drunk. So, to bring out your question, when a person is in such deep pain, the person is not now ready, they feel that they're not capable of being able to daven. In order they should be able to go through this journey that davening could bring them to. One of the ways to answer that is that a person has to start slowly. That means if something's weighing down, there's always a time in the day that it's a bit easier. for an example. The same is that there's always a different part of their life that's not so painful, that's when they concentrate about that, then they're not so in pain. And the same way we gave 2 examples, there are many more examples where a person could find themselves that in that situation, I feel it's a bit better. So that's where they should start with. They should start with that and try to a little bit expand it a little bit. Try to daven there. It's like sometimes people say, Shachas, I can daven, but Tillim I happen to enjoy. I have my English Tillim. I could say, oh, beautiful. So you found a spot. Every person can find a spot where they're not so pained. Then that's where they're not so shut down. Start with that. And then slowly we could climb a ladder and this is how we're continuing this year, and it's also answering the question. Because everybody must climb the ladder, must continue. It's not like a person that doesn't go through such pain could just come to davening and enjoy it, and he's there. It's not being there. Nobody. You have to work on yourself, everybody. And so, wherever a person is, the person has to have an outline of what it's all about. And then they could try little bits and pieces of it. That's the idea. They could do a drop of it, and then they could feel today was less tomorrow, but they can know what they're working on instead of just being told, daven hard. Thank you. I got that. I heard that 30 years ago. It didn't help me. Could you teach me what does it mean? So let's go back into the system we just elaborated about why it's so important. But now we spoke about the first step. The first step was that before they daven, this is something. I think that a person that's in pain, I think the first step is easier. Nothing. I have nothing. They might have a problem with the second step we're going to speak about. But the first step is not less important. And if you could do the first step, then concentrate. Don't just skip it. Hashona for davening means the number one is I train myself to think about it every time. Nothing that I can do will help my situation. Nothing. Even things that I'm supposed to be doing because Hashem told me to do it, it's just because I'm obligated to, I have an achrayus. I have
responsibility.
I have to be a responsible person and do it. It's not because it could help. It's not because if I do it, it's going to help, or it definitely doesn't mean that it's in my hands that I should bring results. Any person, especially if they're older, knows that. But we don't, and not because we know it, it means we constantly remember it because we actually do try things again and again, even though it failed. But before davening is the time to remind yourself, because if not, you're a bit, it's a harsh way of maybe saying it, you're a faker. It means when you're coming to a person, and I sometimes observe how a person comes to another fellow and tells him, I decided that I need your help, and this person feels so good. And I know that person went to 10 people beforehand. He went to 10 people, he tried everybody. Now he comes to him and he's playing this game that you're the perfect person that we chose to be this and this. You're not the perfect person. This is it wasn't even B. It was A, B, C, D, E, F. He's like the F. When a person comes to Hashem like that, he's missing. And every person, it's relatively simple. And I'm stressing the importance of it. Because when a person is going to tell themselves in their mind, or say it from their mouth, nothing could help me, nothing. They are actually being mekayim esadoiraisa, from emunah, from the strongest mitzvah, remembering that there isn't any other power, nothing, including when I pick up a phone and I do this and I sign a paper and I'm this handsome person, all of that, nothing. It helps zero. That's the Hashona. Number two is Hashem could help. As much as a person was desperate 5 years ago and is still in the same rut, a person has to fight with themselves. Fight from thoughts of depression sometimes. Especially, sometimes people find themselves semi-depressed. There's a name for it. They're not depressed as in they lay in bed all day, but gave up. They have to fight with those feelings. They have to fight with it. They have to change those feelings. You have to change it healthy. Not change it if I want badly enough, and if I'm going to think badly enough that's what's going to happen, then it's going to happen. No, wrong. And even if you read it in a book, no. It's wrong, and wrong again and again and again. The reason why some books unfortunately preach that is because it's almost the truth. And sometimes people learn Torah and they found an idea and they tried it and it worked. And they think they have the right way, the right formula of saying, and then they just write a book. It's pretty easy today's days. And then they make money on it, and then they prove, and then they go around and say lectures and they make money again. It's not true, and it's not true. It's against the emunah. It's something, it's tickling their mind because it's tickling the truth. There is something true about it, and that's why people are around it. I'm not getting into that whole topic now, but it's important to know it because if a person works with the wrong way, they're not going to get anyway. They're just not going to get anyway. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help. Hashem could help. I don't know what's the best thing for me. That I don't know. And Hashem does know what's the best thing, but Hashem loves me and knows what's the best for me. And Hashem could help. And Tefillah will definitely help matters. That's what's exciting. Tefillah helps. Always. What does it mean that Tefillah always helps? The person feels, what do you mean? I davened so hard and I really believed that Tefillah is going to help and it didn't work. I don't know, for me it didn't work. For that situation that I have, it's so painful, it didn't work by me. The answer is, again, that Tefillah will help that what's supposed to happen to your nefesh, so you should be able to grow and be happy and slowly transform into a person that knows how to enjoy Hashem and enjoy the world. Tefillah will make you closer to Hashem. And when you are closer to Hashem, you're closer to the source of abundance, and then it will come upon you in many different ways. It could come in a way that the physical situation is going to change. That's what usually people are busy knocking. That's what they want so badly to happen. That is, and many times that's what happens. But it doesn't have to come that way. The reason why the person is so desperate that the physical situations will change is only because they're convinced that if not, then life is going to be bad. And if yes, life is going to be good. And that's a very big mistake. Very big mistake. That's the only reason why you're so stuck on that. If a person would believe Hashem knows what's good, and Hashem could make me feel and reach whatever it is that I should have that pleasure. It's there. Hashem could give it to me, and if I'm going to work myself out, if I'm going to reach a place that I'm going to feel that I'm just fine, I don't need anything to change. Or I'm going to feel so good, I'm going to feel like I'm getting somewhere, I still need to go a long way, but it's going to be a real Yeshua, a real Geula. What's the word for Geula? Redemption. A Geula for the soul, which a person feels stuck. They're so stuck into something. People were stuck for years. They didn't believe. They gave up 100 times that they're going to get out of their stuckness, and they got out. It's a fact. They got out after years of being stuck. And Tefillah helps a person open up. It helps a person get the abundance, and it just comes. It gets showered on the person. And Tefillah, if a person is going to stand, that Tefillah means that I believe in Hashem. Tefillah means that I bring myself to understand that only this is the source of anything that I need. That's what Tefillah is. And that's what I'm doing while I'm davening. If I'm missing Parnasa, then Tefillah means I should come to the shul, or wherever it is, or mother at home, whatever, and I should open the siddur, and here I am. Nothing could make me have Parnasa, nothing that I can do. And that's fine, because I'm in this world. Hashem could make me have Parnasa. And then they say, Hashem, I ask you, I should have Parnasa, the year that's coming, Parnasa Toiva. And the same is with health. The same is with Seichel. The same thing is with everything that a person has. These two parts transforms the person. If a person would look at themselves, they would see that throughout their day, they are busy doing the wrong thing. Not believing Hashem could help them, and believing that they could help themselves. Tefillah reminds the person to go back to that truth. But that's not the whole story. It's totally not the whole story. Here comes the catch that a person is supposed to understand. But here comes the point. Why does Tefillah help? Because I'm becoming close to Hashem. That's why Tefillah helps. So 1 minute. When am I close to Hashem? When I'm reminding myself that Hashem could do everything, and only Hashem is running the world, only He could help me. And that's why it helps. So it's not the words, it's not the where I'm standing, it's not that I'm doing like that. It's the connection, it's the understanding in my mind, which is a connection to Hashem. So if that's the only thing that could work, then maybe I could double the success. Maybe if I'm going to stay connected to Hashem, even when I close my siddur, and I'm going to do things right, and I'm going to do tshuva, then the success is going to expand. The whole reason why Tefillah helped is not because Tefillah is a separate formula, no. It's a tool of a person doing tshuva. That's what it is. So a person understands that 1 second, and what's going to happen after I daven? I know what I'm doing after I davening. It's maybe not so pleasant to speak about it, but I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I daven, I close it, I left the shul, and I open my phone, and let's stop there. I know. So what I'm doing is I'm disconnecting. That's what I'm doing. I connected, and then I said, Chaim Tov Moshalom, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm busy now. And I totally disconnected. Now, if connecting helps you get the abundance and whatever I want, then say finish. Then disconnecting is messing me up. It's really messing me up. So 1 second, so Tefillah is not going to help if I do that. Tefillah might become close to you, and then you messed up. And that's why it didn't reach, even though you davened so hard, because you disconnected. But here comes the fight. Then the person says, no, it doesn't say that anywhere. No. My Rebbe's taught me that Tefillah helps. Don't start telling me that I have to be a goody-goody, and if I'm not going to do everything perfect, then my Tefillah is not going to help. They always do that. They tell you that Tefillah helps, and then the little words, in the bottom they say, but only if you do everything right. Then it means that Tefillah doesn't help. The person gets mad. The person gets... No, you're saying weird shitas. I hate it when people come up with their own... Now, let's go into that person's mind. Why are you so mad? Why are you so upset when someone's coming there and saying that you have to really fix everything else, and if not, then it's not going to work? You know why? Because you don't believe that you could be successful in changing and staying with that change, being successful and enjoying life in a ruchnistic way and not doing averis and just be busy with Hashem all day and mitzvahs. You don't believe. You gave up on that totally. And that's why when someone's going to tell you that in order for you to get abundance, whatever it is, to be helped, you need that, and you know you're not going to get that, so you need to find a sefer that says no. My Rav said it works without it. But 1 second, why are you so upset? Why did you give up? Why did you give up? It's because you forgot step 2, or you never internalized it. Step 2 was that Tefillah could make everything happen. Hashem can make everything happen. And in Tefillah and Shachas, we say, Hashem could help me do tshuva. Hashem could help me change, totally change. Change from 180, totally to the other side. And any person, and in 2021, and in 2022, it could change. Totally change. And even if a person knows themselves and has this kind of nature, that kind of nature, and this kind of family, and that kind of family, and this kind of work, doesn't make a difference. You're talking in a limited way of thinking. That's why you're saying, it's not going to work. For me, this is not going to work. That you don't believe that you could be successful in doing tshuva. You don't believe. And because you don't believe, that's why you put yourself a wall while you're davening, and you're standing far, and the person is reminding myself. I'm reminding myself why I'm saying this. When we had in yeshiva that they heard Bochum, they gave a test for all the boys that they learned the whole Masechta, and then they had one person coming in and ask questions. So there were these three confident bochum that they knew it back and forth. They knew the whole Gemara. They sat up front, ready to roll. Okay, ask the questions. Then there were those kids that they knew that the reason why they're in this selected group of people that they're being for the whole Masechta, not because they know it, just because they needed to fill up the space here. And the pictures of this yeshiva taking off a hair by this gadol has to be like a whole situation, or because their fathers are magachir in this yeshiva, whatever. And they know how good they know. So they sat down always the other side of the table, making sure they're blocked by someone, hoping that one of the questions is going to be an easy one, and then they'll pop out and they'll say yeah, and they'll hide. When we daven, it's kind of complicated. It's like this little fight. Let's not get into all other areas in life because it's like whatever. I'm not going to discuss it, but I'll ask for this. It's like, Hashem, please don't change the subject. Let's stay on this subject. Let's not, because we don't believe that we can be helped. Open up, come close. Number 2 in Tefillah was, Hashem promises you have to believe. It's this week's parasha, Parashas Nitzavim. Ki korav elecha hadavar ma'oid. It's closed, but ficho bilvavcha la'asosai. The Ramban says it goes on the mitzvah from tshuva. A full portion of the Torah discussing any person in any situation, as complicated as it feels. People that are stuck, and not only they're stuck, the situation around is so complicated that they don't believe that the person that's saying the shir knows how complicated it is. You never know. Whatever you're saying doesn't make sense in my situation because it's so complicated. But that's all because we're stuck in this olam from teva. And this olam from teva, things are from this side and the other side. But not with Hashem. Not with Hashem. And when a person really believes that, slowly believes that, not by believing that they want should happen, they should get. Believes that there's a cure for their ruchniistic situation. Totally. For them. Given to them spoon-fed for where the level that they're up to. There is. It's 1000% true in any case. Oh, if that's the case, then I'm not so scared to believe that the more I'm going to do tshuva, the more things are going to work out. And all of a sudden, things are going to be better. And tshuva totally doesn't mean only the person does this Aveda and they're not going to do that Aveda. Tshuva means in their way of thinking, the train of thought and the closeness to Hashem, and becoming a person that believes more and more that Hashem could help them. That brings us to understand that the steps of Tefillah started with Gashmias and all of a sudden went into understanding that abundance comes from Hashem. The closer that I'm going to stay, the more those Tefillahs are going to help. And Tefillah is going to help me be successful in Ruchnias. That's what Tefillah is going to help. So I come to Hashem, and that's why in Shemoneh Esrei, a person is begging, why are we asking for tshuva? Because we understand that as long as I'm going to stay disconnected, I'm going to be far. It's like a person that comes to the palace, comes to the room where the king is. The king says, I'll give you everything. Come in. The person says, no. Could you please bring it out? I want to stay outside. Bring me some chicken, 2 side dishes. I want 2 side dishes and drinks and whatever. Just come in, sit down. Let's eat. Come to dinner. The person says, I want a tefillah. I didn't want strings attached to this. I wanted to ask you. You should give me, and then I wanted to go home. What's the person missing? The person is missing the idea that inside, if you break that barrier and you come in, it's just better. It's just better. But I'm not going to be able to see successful. I know I'm not going to be able to. I know I had so many failures, and that's because you don't believe in tefillah. So many people that did the whole, they went through this. Then they daven that Hashem should help them get on. They should get themselves out of their stuckness, and it happened. And then they were able to open up, and then things started working out. The source is somewhere in Ruchnias. If a person is stuck, the source is somewhere in Ruchnias. Daven for it. Know that that's the main tefillah. They have the Koechse song. So the third part is V'yirachamecha mezgodem alam kochecha. So this song that the whole world sings. So they have, when Chassidim come together, so they sing it over and over. They don't go past that. They say, and then say again, they say it again and again. Why? Because it's so beautiful, those words. Hashem Shav Rachmanis. But if we think into it, it's a funny thing. How does it continue? Hashem should give us to drink for Klal Yisrael from the Nor, the river that comes out of Gan Eden. Hashem should give us to drink that we should enjoy and feel the pleasure from the river that brings abundance from Gan Eden. That's what it says. Have Rachmanis on Yidden. So Yidden should be able to do tshuva. So Yidden should feel the niceness, the beauty of Torah, the beauty of Tefillah, the beauty of a Shabbos. It's so painful to watch people that they don't have that they don't feel it. The same way we could daven for others that we see them struggling in Ruchnius, and we daven for them that they should feel it and they should see the beauty. We should daven on ourselves, on everybody. We daven for Klal Yisrael. But there's a certain understanding that a person davens knowing that if I'm going to reach the next level, wherever a person is, I'm going to the next level, then I'm going to be feeling better. Things are going to be doing well. I don't know how, but it's for sure, because there's no such a thing. If you go closer to water, then the grass grows. You could see it just out here in the garden, a place that even last week there was more water here. The grass is higher. It's always going to be like that. If you're next to water, it grows. If there isn't any, then it doesn't grow. If there's a little bit of water, then the grass is low. This is what it is. This is if you're close to the source of abundance, then you're going to have. It's not like Hashem heard your tefillah and Hashem said no. We hear that a lot of times, but there's a misunderstanding. There's such a disappointment. That's if we are only limited to the specific situation. And then sometimes it happens, and sometimes Hashem knows it's not good that should happen. Or sometimes it's going to happen, it's going to take longer, it's going to happen later. But if a person understands that my problem is that I'm stuck. My problem is that this situation doesn't let me daven and learn and continue on my life. That's my issue. It's affecting me. The Gemara says in Yerushalmi that there was a Amoyre, a tzaddik, that he lost his wallet. He lost his arnak of money. And then someone came over to him and he told him, I want to ask you, he asked him a question on learning, what's the halacha? And he said, I don't know. So he says, what happened? Because you lost your wallet, you can't answer me? So he told him, listen, the das of a person, the mind of a person, is connected to the heart. If they have a heart, if they're doing fine, then their mind is working. The heart is in the wallet. That's it. That's what it says in the Yerushalmi. He says, if I lost that, then I lost my heart, and then I lost my das. I can't answer you the question. It's so true. And that is what our situation, this is our situation, every person, every single person. Our hearts are stuck on this and that, the wallets and other very important things. But then our das is totally in there, and then it's connected, and then we're lost. Then we're lost. But Hashem has the scissors to disconnect the heart from the wallet. Hashem has that scissors. We many times don't have it. We don't. It's more powerful than us. Because it's connected to such important things to us that you can't tell us just not to care. Don't care. We don't have the power. Hashem has the scissors. And we could see people that go through hardships in a very high madrega, or Hashem gave them a matona. But it's a fact that there are people that they are besimcha, and they continue on, and it means there is some way, if you reach Hashem can send abundance into that situation, and you'll have your heart back, and your das, and you'll be able to do good. we have to understand that it means there is a solution for my problem. Because it's unnecessary. It doesn't have to mean that I should find my wallet. Hashem could take a scissors and disconnect it from the wallet, and I'm going to be fine. So this is like a picture you should be drawing. It's like therapy. So take your situation and you draw it there where the wallet is, and take a string to your heart, and from there to your mind, and understand that if you're going to believe in the davening, and you're going to ask Hashem's going to put a scissors there, and He might bring your wallet back as well. But then you're going to be a new person. So that sums up that it really needs a continuation. But it brings us to understand that Tefila helps us understand that Hashem could solve every situation. But what does it mean Hashem could solve it? It gets solved not by Hashem creating a solution. It's more that I'm just going to connect to Hashem, so I'm going to be having the solution. I'm going to be enjoying the solution. I'm connected to Hashem. If that's the case, then that means that the more I'm going to expand the connection to Hashem in different areas and different times of my day, then I'm going to be absorbing the abundance and having the solution to my problem on a much better level, and it's going to be taking over my life. Those solutions are not going to be just here and there. That's a koyach of tefillah, that the more a person understands that, it helps the person change. It helps the person become a new person, slowly. And it goes, like we said, it goes with little part. A little bit more in this area and that area. And that's why tefillah could change a person. And if a person davens like that, slowly, they really feel like they're being changed. And this is why avoid the Elul and Tishrei, the Hebrews will helfen. We should have good davenings, and she's kabul berachmo v'rotzen es tfiloseinu.
Amen.